Welcome to Stories by Rishi Podcast.
Hey everyone, so glad you could join us today.
So I want you to imagine you are just mindlessly scrolling through your phone on a random Tuesday. You know how it is.
Oh yeah, just the usual doom scrolling.
Right, exactly. And you are swiping past thousands of these weightless digital photos, just, zeros and ones floating in a cloud somewhere. They possess absolutely zero physical mass.
Just data taking up storage space.
Yeah, but then your thumb just stops. You hit one specific image. It's just a simple collection of pixels on a glass screen, but suddenly it feels as heavy as a block of granite.
Oh wow, yeah. That undeniable gravitational pull.
Exactly. It physically anchors you to the spot. And today's exploration is really about what gives that single, weightless digital file such immense weight.
I love that analogy. And our mission for this conversation is to unpack this beautifully crafted memoir essay written by Rishi.
It is such a good piece.
It really is. We are going to look closely at, the hidden mechanics of mentorship, the really jarring reality of processing grief in total isolation, and the incredibly unifying power of cinema and food.
And we are talking about the late legendary Bollywood actor Rishi Kapoor here, affectionately known as Chintuji to his inner circle.
Right, and I think it is important to say up front, this isn't some standard Wikipedia-style rundown of his box office numbers,
Oh, definitely not. No sanitized award ceremony tributes here.
Exactly. If you were sitting at the table with us today, you are in for a profoundly human, remarkably intimate look at the man behind the legend.
So let's just jump straight into that granite block of a photograph, because the essay notes that this specific picture, it sits quietly in the gallery, right? But it carries so much emotional weight that the writer actually cannot look at it for too long.
It is such a striking visual constraint. The idea that, data can literally demand a physical reaction from you.
Yeah, you have to physically put the phone down because the memory is just too dense.
Well, and you would assume that a photo carrying that much emotional gravity would be this, picture-perfect milestone.
Like a red carpet shot, right?
Yeah, or a moment of them holding an award together, bathed in perfect studio lighting. But it's actually the exact opposite.
So what is the photo?
It was taken right in the middle of the song Shoot for Badumba from the film 102 Not Out. And in the photo, Chintuji is just mid-laugh.
Okay, mid-laugh. That sounds nice.
Well, he is laughing because he is actively mocking the writer's idea for a climax scene.
Wait, really? Just laughing at his idea to his face?
Yeah, right after having just scolded him, no less.
Okay, let me stop you there, because this is where I get a little stuck. He had just scolded him, delivered this whole, filmy rant about something not being right, and now he is making fun of the climax idea.
Yep, completely roasting him.
The essay mentions feeling disappointed in that moment, obviously, before Chintuji drops the sarcastic but oddly reassuring line. He says, don't worry, something better will always turn up. Right, but I look at this zero-mass digital file carrying the emotional gravity of a black hole, and I have to act as a proxy for the listener here. Why is it that the memories we cherish most with our mentors aren't those polite moments of perfect harmony?
That is a great question.
Because if my boss mocked my idea to my face, I would probably go cry in my car. Why does this become a treasured anchor instead of just a really traumatic memory?
Well, because perfect harmony is often it's sterile. Think about the sociology of a professional environment.
Right, like office politics.
Exactly. When a veteran or a leader is perfectly polite to you, it usually means there is a barrier in place. They are managing you. Politeness basically equals distance.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Politeness is safe.
It is. But when someone is comfortable enough to actually scold you, to passionately mock your half-baked ideas, and then hit you with a sarcastic reassurance that requires a really high degree of intimacy.
Yeah, you cannot fake that.
No, you can't. That is the grit of real connection. And the writer's unique perspective really shines here because he recognizes that this messy, abrasive moment was actually a profoundly safe space.
Because Chintuji wasn't trying to tear down a writer.
Not at all. He was saying, I know you are capable of more, and I'm going to laugh at this current draft until you dig deeper and find the better one.
I understand the theory of that, I really do. But in practice, you cannot just walk onto a film set on day one and demand that kind of intimacy.
Oh, absolutely not.
You don't just walk up to a national treasure and start taking blunt, sarcastic feedback in stride. If that foundation of trust isn't there, that feedback just crushes you. So how does a young writer even get to a place where a veteran actor feels comfortable enough to do that?
You are entirely right. That kind of trust doesn't happen under the glare of studio lights. That specific foundation was built entirely offset.
Ah, okay.
The bond actually began back in 2014 on the film All Is Well. But it really crystallized over, like, endless bowls of butter paneer and fresh nines in the dabbas of Himachal and Punjab.
Food. It always comes back to food.
Always. By the time they were shooting 102 Not Out,
Mm-hmm.
that dynamic was completely solidified.
Which brings up something I really want to challenge regarding how we, traditionally think about professional development.
Okay, let's hear.
We have this culturally ingrained obsession with formal learning. We think education happens in lecture halls with rigid seating or in corporate boardrooms with a slide deck and a laser pointer.
Oh yeah, the dreaded PowerPoint presentations.
Right. But this essay argues that the most profound education, the kind that fundamentally rewires how your brain approaches a problem, it doesn't happen in a sterile room.
No, it happens over a third helping of paneer butter masala.
Exactly. So why is the dhaba a better classroom than an actual classroom?
Because breaking bread fundamentally dismantles hierarchy.
Yeah,
Especially in Indian culture. I mean, the dhaba is the ultimate equalizer.
that is so true.
When you are sitting at a roadside table, navigating the heat, the spices, and just the sheer noise, the formalities of the industry naturally fall away.
You aren't pitching to a legend in a glass office anymore.
Right. You are just two human beings satisfying a basic biological need.
Yeah.
Your physical guard is down, which means your intellectual guard drops as well.
Wow. Yeah.
The essay describes him not just as an actor, but as a one-person film school and an absolute walking, talking archive of cinema history.
And a full-time food critic disguised as a national treasure, if I remember correctly.
Yes, delightfully so.
Can you just picture the sensory overload of that scene for a second? The grease, the heat, the unbelievable food, and across the table is a man who lived his entire life in surround sound.
Surround sound is the perfect way to describe it. Every single meal came with the wildest, most unfiltered stories imaginable.
Like what?
Well, the essay mentions anecdotes from his days with Dimple Kapadia, shoots that had gone completely off the rails.
Oh, wait, of the goat story.
Yes. There was this one behind-the-scenes fiasco he shared that sounds like pure cinema in itself. It involved a goat, a malfunctioning rain machine, and some very, very angry extras.
I would pay good money to just sit and listen to that story over dinner.
Right. It is the oral tradition of storytelling in its purest form. He wasn't standing at a podium delivering a sanitized lecture on the mechanics of 1980s Bollywood.
No, he was sharing his lived experience.
The chaos, the failures, the absurdities of the goat and the rain machine. And he shared it as a peer in that specific vulnerable moment. He basically held court while demanding more gravy.
I love that image. And clearly the bond became so tight, so devoid of traditional ego, that there was actually a running joke on the set.
Oh, this is the best part.
Yeah, they used to tell the writer, and I quote, "If Ranbir Kapoor gives one more flop, Rishi Kapoor will adopt Rushik."
Which is just hilarious.
It really is, but it also proves your point about the intimacy, You don't make a joke like that unless the professional barrier has been completely obliterated.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating how that culinary mentorship naturally bled directly into the actual highly technical craft of screenwriting.
Because the trust was established.
Exactly. Once you have survived a chaotic dhaba meal together, you can handle the brutal realities of the page. He delivered these profound lessons, but they were always wrapped in his trademark razor-sharp wit.
He had these golden rules for the craft.
He did. First, you have to respect silence in storytelling.
Crucial.
Second, you have to learn how to narrate properly, with rhythm and pacing. And crucially, the third rule, never, ever pitch a script on an empty stomach.
I want to pause on that last rule because it sounds like a throwaway joke, but it is actually a masterclass in human psychology.
It really is.
Think about it. If a producer is sitting across from you and their blood sugar is crashing, their brain is in a completely different physiological state.
Oh, hanger's real.
Right. They aren't listening to your beautiful character arcs. They are literally just thinking about lunch. It is incredibly practical advice disguised as a quip.
Exactly. It shows a deep understanding of the human element in an industry that often pretends to run purely on art and commerce.
Yeah, we forget the human biological needs sometimes.
But my absolute favorite detail regarding his feedback style involves a script reading.
Oh, the internet quote.
Yes. The essay notes that the writer handed him a script and he didn't even need to read the whole thing.
He just read the first few pages, right?
Just the first 5 pages. He looked up and delivered this devastating critique. He said, This scene is slower than my internet in the 80s.
Okay, let me act as a proxy again for anyone listening who works in a creative field. Because if a legendary veteran read my work and told me it was slower than dial-up internet,
You'd be crushed.
I don't know if I would feel respected. I might just want to crawl under the table and reconsider all my career choices. How does a young writer process a line that lethal without their ego just completely shattering?
Well, it goes back to the environment where the critique happens.
Yeah.
The essay expertly captures something vital about creative industries here.
What's that?
Blunt, sarcastic feedback from someone of that caliber is actually the highest compliment you can receive.
Really? The highest compliment.
Think of it like stress testing a newly built bridge before you open it to the public. You don't gently drive a golf cart over it.
No, you park 20 heavy trucks on it to see if it cracks.
Exactly. He was throwing heavy trucks at the script in a safe environment. If he didn't care, or if he thought the bridge was hopelessly flawed, he would have just politely smiled, said it was fine, and handed the pages back.
Right, the polite distance again.
But by hitting him with the 80s internet line, he was demanding better pacing, sharper dialogue, and way more urgency. He was making sure the script wouldn't collapse when it finally got in front of a producer.
Because, as he also warned him regarding pitching, he said, "It's good, but you have got 15 minutes to impress a producer, not eternity."
Yes, he wasn't insulting the work. He was actively elevating the writer's survival skills.
He was giving him armor for the real world.
Precisely. And it wasn't just a drive-by insult. The essay specifically knows how he would chew thoughtfully not just the food, but the idea itself before delivering those one-liners.
It wasn't just a quick reaction.
No, it shows a deep, deliberate engagement with the material. He listened intently. He was challenging the writer to rise to his level, to tighten the narrative until it was just bulletproof.
Which honestly makes the sudden absence of that voice so incredibly jarring.
It really does.
As we follow the narrative of the essay, we move from these loud, vibrant, deeply textured stories filled with roaring laughter, chaotic sets, rich food, and endless banter into this absolute suffocating void.
Yeah.
The narrative takes a heartbreaking turn because the music just abruptly stops.
It is a jarring transition, and it perfectly mirrors the tragic reality of his passing.
He passed away quietly during the COVID-19 lockdown, and the way the essay describes this period is with this painful, haunting poetry that immediately transports you back to that specific era.
It's so visceral.
The writer notes that he left the world, quote, when ambulances sang lullabies and hugs were illegal.
Ambulances sang lullabies. That phrasing is just chilling.
It really is.
It captures that surreal, dystopian reality of the early pandemic so accurately. The sirens became so constant, so embedded in the fabric of the night, that they turned into a twisted background track to our sleep.
They were the only sounds piercing the silence of the cities.
And the physical isolation of it all is so palpable in the writing. The essay outlines the brutal logistics of that time. The writer couldn't be there.
He couldn't go to the hospital to visit.
Right. He couldn't attend the funeral. He couldn't even go stand outside the gates and lean against a wall to pretend to be brave alongside others.
He was just trapped at home, like we all were.
And then there's this phrase that absolutely stopped me in my tracks when I read it. He wrote, "Grief had to be rationed, one phone call at a time."
Oh, I'm so glad you highlighted that because it is a profoundly accurate way to articulate a very specific modern type of loss.
It is.
I really want to linger on that concept for a second. Grief had to be rationed. Normally, under any other circumstance in human history, when we lose someone of that magnitude, grief is a communal explosion.
Yes. People gather at the house, you share food, you tell stories.
You cry on each other's shoulders. The grief consumes everything, but it is dispersed among the community.
It's shared weight.
Exactly. But during the lockdown, we experienced this collective trauma where you were stripped of all those anthropological rituals.
You had to process the loss of a larger-than-life, vibrant force of nature while the entire world was frozen in place.
You are tapping into the psychological horror of that period. When you cannot access communal mourning, the tidal wave of grief would quite literally drown you if you took it in all at once.
So you are forced to ration it.
Right. You sit in your living room staring at the walls, you take one phone call, you absorb a tiny fraction of the reality, you hang up, and you just sit there in the silence.
It is like holding your breath underwater while the surface above you has frozen solid. There's just nowhere for the emotion to go.
And the contrast is what makes the reality so sharp, so deeply unfair.
How do you mean?
Well, you have a man who lived his entire life in surround sound. He was loud dabbas, chaotic film sets, commanding presence, and roaring laughter. And his exit happens in the most unnatural, suffocating silence humanity has experienced in modern history.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It speaks to the abruptness of mortality and how we constantly fool ourselves regarding time.
We really do. We always assume there's more of it.
We assume legends get a slow, cinematic fade-out, accompanied by a soaring background score.
But they don't. As the essay points out, legends like him don't just exit stage left, they demand a second curtain call.
They leave you wanting more.
The writer genuinely thought they would have one last meal together, one more bottle of scotch to share over a table, one more fierce argument about the climax music for a film.
And they had plans, too.
Right. In fact, the last film they wanted to do together still sits on his laptop. It is in a folder quite literally titled Unfinished Dreams, sitting right there next to the script that was improved by the 80s internet comment.
He never got his 15 minutes to say goodbye. The same 15 minutes he always warned the writer was all you had to make an impression on a producer.
That is a poignant, painful parallel.
Time ran out before the pitch could be finished.
It really did. But you know, the beauty of this essay is that it doesn't leave you stranded in the paralysis of that lockdown grief.
It doesn't.
The narrative shifts focus to the enduring legacy of the stories that actually survived, because even though the physical presence is gone, the impact is permanently etched into the writer's craft, into his creative DNA.
It changes you fundamentally.
The essay notes that every time he narrates a script now, he remembers Chintuji listening. He remembers the intensity of his attention, the way he would chew on the idea.
The mentorship didn't end with his passing. It continues every single time the writer sits down at a keyboard or walks into a pitch meeting. The physical voice is gone, but the whetstone remains.
And the piece closes with this beautiful final plea that brings everything full circle. He says, "If the heavens have a daba, save me a seat."
I love that line.
The writer promises to bring the script. Chintuji can bring his trademark sarcasm. And just this once, let the writer win the food bill.
It is a perfect encapsulation of their entire dynamic, the sacred trinity of their bond, really.
Yeah.
Food, storytelling, and a little bit of playful, stubborn ego over who gets to pay.
And he signs off with this incredibly moving thought. "Until then, sir, well, wait, all is not well, but your stories keep cooking in my soul."
Cooking in my soul. It brings the culinary metaphor to its absolute peak, elevating it from a physical meal to something deeply spiritual.
It really does.
The ingredients they gathered in Punjab and Himachal are still simmering, still providing sustenance. And I think this raises an incredibly important question, a really provocative thought for everyone listening right now.
Let's hear it.
If you look around your own life, your own professional or personal landscape, who is your Chintuji?
Oh, that's a good question.
Who is the person giving you the tough love, the unapologetically blunt feedback, and the unforgettable stories? Who is the one mocking your half-baked ideas because they know with absolute certainty that you have great ones inside you?
We so often shy away from those abrasive mentors because they challenge our egos. It is uncomfortable to have your ideas stress-tested.
It is.
It is so much easier to surround ourselves with polite people who just nod and approve the first draft.
But the polite people aren't the ones expanding your horizons. The polite people aren't the ones who will leave a granite-heavy photo in your phone that you cherish for the rest of your life.
No, they aren't.
Make sure you are soaking up the wisdom of the mentors who challenge you. Take their sarcastic feedback, absorb their stories, and maybe try to pick up the food bill while you still have the time to do it.
Because, as this essay so beautifully and tragically reminds us, the table won't be full forever.
No, the silence can arrive without any warning.
That is a phenomenal takeaway. Don't wait to share that meal. Lean into the messy, blunt conversations, and definitely don't pitch your ideas on an empty stomach. Thank you for listening to Stories by Rushik Podcast. For more such podcasts, follow Stories by Rushik on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Prime Music, and YouTube.